All right. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining in for the Business of Agriculture Masterclass pre-session. So we're having this as a pre-session to the masterclass starting tomorrow, and basically it's just to drive awareness and conversation on what will be happening tomorrow, sort of like a teaser. So you see, if you had not registered or you planned not to attend, this is meant to be like a cue for you to attend, right? And so we're bringing in on three of our panelists who are going to also be panelists on the live session starting tomorrow, and they're just going to be making a case for agriculture, like this session is about. So today's session is Agric in Practice, which is a theme of this year's Business of Agriculture Masterclass. Agric in Practice, and we're making a case for agriculture, basically, right? So we're having these panelists, well, it's not a debate, we're having these panelists come speak about their experience so far and just sort of drive encouragement and for youth participation, especially in agriculture and just generally Nigerians. Because I remember when I was talking about the session this morning, I made mention to the fact that we could do other things, right? But we all have to eat, and that still boils down to agriculture, and that just shows how important agriculture is to us. So again, if you're yet to register for the session, it starts tomorrow 9 a.m. prompt. Please do well to register, right? You can register via www.businessofagriculture.org/register. I'll say that again, www.businessofagriculture.org to register. Yes, so I'll be bringing up the panelists up right now. First will be Akinremi Julian. He is currently the CEO of 14 Farms. Our second panelist will be Dara Adekule. She's a co-founder of Farmtis Capital. And last but not the least is Imal Silva, consultant at Imal Silva and Partners. Thank you so much. Great to have you here. Good evening.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. I hope you all can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Okay, great. Right. So I would have read it by you, but I wanted to go another route, because I could be reading from a piece of paper, and that's not really what you want us to hear. So I'll just if you could just in 1 minute just tell us about yourself and what you do, and of course around agriculture, and I think that I'll be before moving to our questions. So we'll start with Akinremi Julian.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm sure I don't need to tell you my name anymore. I've heard my name like 4 times today myself, so I'll just go ahead and tell you what I do. Basically, what I do is post-harvest handling of agric materials. So I'm the CEO of 14 Farms, and what we do in 14 Farms is we add value to agric materials to actually extend their shelf life. We know that a lot of food comes out from our farms, and before they would actually get to the market or the final consumer's table, like 50% of this agric. So basically, what we do is we add value to some of these agric materials right there on the farms, before they go out to the cities, so that we can actually help extend their shelf life, and then you can still have access to these nutritious foods even when they are out of season. Of course, we know in Nigeria we have various seasons where we have gluts, and then at some other times we don't have enough. And so if we can actually add value to them, value addition actually entails a lot of things, and sometimes it may just be proper storage. Just proper storage is just enough for you to add value to that agric material and extend the shelf life. Going to the markets, and they are finding out that everything is now expensive,
Mm. Hello, we stopped hearing you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I said I will stop there for now. Since I still have
Okay,
a lot to
to
say
say.
later on, I'll just stop there for now.
All
Yes.
right, thank you so much. All right, next will be Dara Adekule.
Okay, thank you. Good evening once again, and good morning, depending on where you're joining us. My name is Dara Adekule, and I'm an entrepreneur and an agribusiness development consultant. So I've been working in the agribusiness space for quite a while now, and the goal of the company which I founded, which is called Farm Ties, is to help people to raise the kind of capital that they require for their business enterprises. And I look forward to the conversation, and I hope we get to know more on this business of agriculture. Thank you.
Thank you, Dara. Imal, over to you.
Okay, hello everyone. Thanks to PSAG for this opportunity. I'm actually an entrepreneur. I'm somebody who's been farming from the time I was a kid, but now I've had to learn to do it better. So I am also a graduate of the Agribusiness Management Program, the Agribusiness Management Executive Program at LBS, but now I lecture there. I lecture in homestead and urban farming, and I also am an advocate of sustainable agriculture and climate smart agriculture. Um, so I am a partner at L&Z Silade Agro Park in Abuja, where we have a demonstration farm, and we actually reach out to the public to train them on crops and animal production. And we also have an agrotourism component there.
Okay.
What we're trying to do is to engage the youth, especially, and bring them on board, as well as, of course, the adults who want to learn. And I've just joined the US Africa Trade Council, and I'm heading the agribusiness desk for West Africa. We're just starting to set the structure and the pace for that. So I think that just gives a little summary of what I do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone, for such great introductions. I like how everyone has talked about the fact that there's some form of youth participation and encouraging you to join, agriculture. And I think for me that will be majorly our conversation, for today. But before we get into that, I did a bit of research on everyone who I was going to be speaking with, and it was interesting to see that we all came from very different backgrounds, right? I think it was only Akinremi that was focused. If I might say, he studied agriculture in the university, and that's what he's doing right now. But I see that there, is an engineer, electrical electronics. I see that Imal studied biochemistry. I mean, that's pretty close. So I think I will start with Dara because she seems like the farthest. She has come a long way, right? So I mean, how would you describe your path so far? Like, coming all the way from engineering, to where you are right now. Did you have to leave engineering? Are you still an engineer? What's the arrangement like?
Well, I think that's so interesting because it just takes me back to my time as an engineer and studying engineering through school. So from the engineering classroom, I got interested in agriculture because if you are familiar with agriculture, you know the whole walk around biodiesel. So learning about biodiesel as an engineering student made me interested in agriculture. And I said, okay, wow, let's go do some research. And I started by having a moringa farm, which still exists. But will I will I say the farm was towards biodiesel? I would say not really because it was more around, oh, moringa is good for everyone. Moringa is that superfood, and that's what got me into
Yeah.
trading agricultural commodities and trading moringa, and then started trading other crops and started farming other crops, and here we are. But then it just brings the whole idea that no matter what you studied, honestly, there is actually a career path that you can pursue.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dara. If I may add, so interestingly, I did serve with Dara, and I remember, how she was. Yeah, we did serve together, and she was. I know. I mean, I was like, why is this lady talking about culture and moringa? She was all about her moringa farm, and selling moringa seeds, and I was just like, what is this? But I mean, I can see, where he has brought her to, and the things, the foundation that he has laid. Thank you so much, Dara. It's interesting to note that even engineering was one that, kind of like opened you up to the opportunities within agriculture. All right, Mr. Imal, over to you. I mean, was biochemistry part of the plan? What has the journey been like?
Okay, like I said, I've always had a passion for agriculture. I've always been planting things all around wherever I lived from the time I was a kid. But I think I'm actually a chronic entrepreneur. So my entrepreneurial journey started in some other sectors, which I still operate in. But of
Okay.
course, sooner than later, my passion of agriculture came to focus, and then I had to actually go for training in LBS. And then I understood things from a value chain perspective, and not just
Okay.
as just somebody who was growing things. I mean, I had to take it beyond that. So that opened up my eyes, and then I also realized that I could achieve more if I
Okay.
collaborated. So
Okay.
I had done other partnerships before. So because of that, I quickly partnered, and then we pivoted our partnership again to a much bigger partnership within a matter of 3-4 years. Uh, and that was the resources came in for us to be able to set up what we did in terms of the model farm and then the agro tourism project.
Yeah.
But that's basically an engagement platform. And then finally, of course, once that's kicked off, started spiraling. He started going beyond what I was even thinking. The way it's moving, it's very fast. Yeah,
Wow.
thank you.
Interesting. It's interesting to know that you're still running other things, as it is going. So, I mean, for people who are listening, I think we should start picking our cue, right? That there are opportunities and you don't necessarily have to leave, what you're currently doing before you venture into agriculture. All right, Mr. Akinremi, even though you're the focused one, as I would joke, what would you say was the journey that, led you to it? I mean, why did you choose agriculture? So I know a couple of people who might have chosen agriculture because I mean that was the course they gave them, as we usually say here in Nigeria. But some people are very passionate to say this is what I want to study, and then they go for it. I mean, in secondary school, you hardly see people say, "Oh, they want to study," things like agriculture and all of those things. They are all looking for the fancy, the fancy courses, right? So, what would you say was the journey? What led you to do that? Was it a deliberate choice? Was it something that happened, along the way?
Okay, thank you. I would say it was deliberate because initially I always wanted to be an engineer,
Hmm.
so I had started out studying electrical electronics, but then I
Just like
found
that.
out that yes, I found out that I could actually study agricultural engineering and be an
Okay.
engineer on the farm. And so I
Hmm.
decided to opt for agricultural engineering. And so
Okay.
basically, I noticed that when I went through the career path for agricultural engineers, I found out that the agricultural engineer is actually the civil engineer on the farm, the mechanical engineer on the farm, the electrical engineer on the farm,
So you got to do
and
everything.
so I have the opportunity to actually practice engineering while I'm also pursuing that Agric dream. Initially I
Yeah.
felt like, well, I would study Agric, and then whatever I would study engineering, and then I would have a small farm. That was the idea. But later on, I found out that I could actually merge, my career with my passion, studying agricultural engineering. And so I started out studying agric engineering, even though, I know a lot of people that actually studied agric engineering and other agricultural courses that actually did not want it, for one
Yeah.
reason or the other,
Yeah.
but we can see that everybody is coming to agric now because
Hmm.
apart from the fact that there are a lot of opportunities in Agric. People are getting to understand that agriculture is beyond going to the farm. You know, there's a value chain, and you can always, create solutions along the value chains. You know,
Yeah.
you don't basically have to be uh, a crop production expert for you to be a farmer. You could actually
Yeah.
supply seedlings and you are a farmer. You could supply post-harvest sanding equipment and you're a farmer. You know, you could build farm structures, and you could be into environmental control, climate change and the likes, and you're still a farmer. You could
Yeah.
also be someone that actually provides finance for farmers. You know, farmers actually need a lot of money from time to time. If you work with smallholder farmers, you find out that most times smallholder farmers want to borrow money, you know, with their crops, even before they grow them, you know.
Yeah.
And so you could be providing financial support to these farmers, and then you could be an off-taker, you know, you could be providing logistic services. So agriculture is, you know, is way more bigger than just saying, well, if I don't study agronomy or crop science or
Yeah.
something, then I will not be able to fit in. So I think I started out, you know, not having the broader picture in view, but over the years, you know, I've come to realize that, well, it was actually a good decision from the onset. Thank you.
Interesting. Thank you so much. Right, and I think I'll just take off from what you said, where a lot of people who studied agriculture, right, they didn't necessarily. It was just like, let's just do this thing, let's just get a degree, and then we pursue something else afterwards, right? So I think that will lead me to the main conversation for today, which is making a case for agriculture, and kind of like driving youth participation, in agriculture. And I'll start off from what the point you made about people, studying agriculture and not wanting to do it, or if you said, "Oh, are you going to study in school?" and you hear agriculture, it's like you're not even a serious person. Do you want to be a farmer, right? So, I think for me, my first question, and I'd like to hear from everyone, is what would you say is the reason for the lack of enthusiasm from youth regarding agriculture? Mr. Imal, I'll start with you.
Okay, that's an interesting question. It's particularly interesting to me because it's something that I really have a passion for. I think, if I may put it this way, um, technology is expanding at such a fast rate
Mm-hmm.
that connectivity connectivity is at a level where, we've never in the history of mankind have had this kind of connectivity. So
Yeah.
of course, with that, the average youth anywhere in the world is open to so much all over the globe.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere they see what's happening, and then of course there's the digital culture,
Mm-hmm.
and there's everything that is connected to the media, and of course you sit down here in Nigeria, and then you're seeing what's happening all over the world.
Yeah.
And so, of course, because of that, the expectations are like a balloon filled with hydrogen. The expectations start floating,
Mm.
floating, floating, and they're connecting to what's happening globally. And now there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Mm.
The only problem is that we are in a different environment, and then we have our peculiar challenges.
Mm.
Um, and then agriculture and the promotion of agriculture
Okay.
is not anywhere near what other things are being promoted in this world of connectivity. So
I
there's,
agree.
thanks for the effort you're making. How many of these efforts do we have where youth can connect from all over and actually engage on? And I see young people who are actually successful. So because of that, they really don't have too many heroes,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't have too many references or stories to link to. Now, for example, in the agro park, we've done about 600 students from January who came on guided tours, study tours, from secondary schools, primary schools, apart from this, the older folks and the older maybe university students, I'm just I'm going back to the younger ones because that is where the interest is supposed to start. Now, when they come to the park, you see that, let's say, out of a class of 30 or 35, you see about 5 of them or 6 or 7 that are very, very interested in these things, or maybe between 7, 8 people, kids. But when they see this interest, there's really nothing to go back to when they get home. There's
Yes.
there's no support at home. So we try to create an agro club and all that to try and see how we can filter out all those ones and then try and support them. So what I feel is that there needs to be a lot more efforts to be able to meet up with the pace other subjects or other fields of endeavor are being how they're being promoted. So you see a whole lot of kids wanting to be footballers or wanting to be actors or what,
Yeah.
because that's what they see. So let me just stop at that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very interesting point, right? Because really, people admire what they see. People admire what is being publicized. So, if I hear you correctly, you said 2 things. There are no role models, and there's no enough right publicity for agriculture, showing it's a worthwhile, interesting. All right, Mr. Akinremi.
Okay, I think the first speaker has actually highlighted some very, very important points or reasons why young people are
I
actually not interested in agriculture. But I would also come from another direction. We see that uh, um, everybody wants money now. I'll pick one of his points. We are in this digital age, and I can see my neighbor has this type of car, can go to these places, and so on and so forth. And I can see that uh, somebody started working somewhere yesterday, and person is already making millions today, but the farmer I know, probably still has 1 or 2 challenges. Farmers are struggling with flooding now in the north. The rains
Yeah.
are coming, and a lot of crops are going to get spoiled this year. That's certain, and so people are going to lose money. But if I was an electrical engineer, for example, and I have to make panels, rain will probably not spoil my panels, and so I actually don't have challenge with rain. And then anybody can walk into my store, buy these panels, and go away. But if I'm a vegetable farmer, and I have ugu leaves in my store, and even if I have a cold storage system, I can only keep it for as long.
Yeah.
After some time, it will still get spoiled, and then I need money, and that money is not coming as fast as I want it to come. You understand? Or probably if you ask someone to come and tell you about agribusiness, the first thing they will tell you, if anybody has done agribusiness and the person has not lost money, then you should clap for that person. And so the first thing the person is telling you is, well, when I started, maybe for the first 2-3 years, we didn't get it right. Even with all the soil testing and all this and that, we still had issues. We found out that they told us we could use this type of chemicals, but for our farm is peculiar. This type of chemicals are better. We have issues with flooding on this part of the farm. We have issues like this on the other part of the farm. Sometimes, we have challenges with this and that, because of our neighbors, pest management, and the likes. Climate change. This year, where the rains did not start on time, and our irrigation system was faulty. That kind of thing. Or we don't have enough money to irrigate the whole farm. So by the time people hear these things, they want to go into that career path where the money just comes tomorrow, and sometimes it doesn't work
Yeah.
like that for the business, you
Yeah.
understand? And so I think that's one major challenge, And then another thing is that when people go to the net, thank God for young people that are actually doing wonderful things in agribusiness now, and they are putting it on social media. If not for that, what you just see is a picture of an old man in one farm, one village, and you are wondering, I'll soon be like this man. And then
Yeah.
you say, no, I don't want to be like this man. And you are looking at another old man that was probably a doctor, a lawyer, or something, and you're looking at how he looks. I want to be like this one, and so I would prefer to follow this career path, you know. But when we start seeing young people and even older people that are into agribusiness, and we can actually see what they are doing, we can actually see the impact they are making, and you know, people will become encouraged to go into agriculture. You know, but if all we see is that, you know, and I think that's a major reason why international organizations and even local organizations are trying to encourage youth participation in agriculture, because we have this aging population of people, aging population involved in agriculture, especially in Africa. You know, we see that most of the people you see on the farm, so small older farmers, are always old people, not young people. You know, but now that young people are coming into agribusiness and they are doing wonders. Young people are actually doing very well. You can see a lot of young people on social media and even offline. You know, I know some of them personally, and I know that these people are actually doing a lot. You know, and they are, you know, they are getting a lot of money too. So if people can begin to see young people go into agriculture and get money, I believe that's where it starts from. You know, people can actually understand that, you know, you don't actually need 500 acres of land in order for you to farm. You know, you don't actually need even 5 acres of land in order for you to be fully involved in agriculture. You can actually work in one part of the other of the value chain, and you still actually make a lot of impact. So I think the publicity, the understanding, you understand, I think that's a lot of people mix things up and in place of the understanding. But once they can understand that, you know, the fact that you have to, if you make one or two mistakes in agriculture, it's an experience that stays with you forever. You won't make that mistake again, you know, and you are past that stage already. You know, next year you are doing it better. The next year you are doing it better. And before you know it, you know, you are settled. You know, you can go anywhere and go and talk. Someone just calls you, you know, wakes you up from the sleep and tells you that, can you tell us about moringa seed? Or can you tell us about plantain? And you just start talking. You know, you don't need to go and study anything again. And by then, you know that you are making steady income from whatever it is you are doing. But it's a process. So once young people can actually understand that it's a process, and then they can start up early. You know, it's not that you wait till you have 300 million and then you just go and throw everything away. But if you can put your 300,000 into it, and then you learn one or two things, and then you move up, before you know it, you are doing very well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dara, over to you. Can you hear me, Dara? Okay, it's bad. All right, but I think you made a very great point, Mr. Akinremi. You know, and I think that for me, I picked on the part where you're talking about first, there's no money. Well, it looks like there's no money, right? And and you then mentioned something about how when you make a mistake in agriculture, it sort of stays with you and you end up not making that same mistake. And it's interesting because I think it ties into the conversation that we're going to be having starting from tomorrow, which is the practice of agriculture, right? Because a lot of times, like you said, people, you ask you, how far this thing, how far agriculture, and then the first thing you hear is, guy, I lost money, my farm, something happened to it, and people are just like, whoa, I don't want to do this, right? But the conversation this year is moving, from just talk to say, okay, you know what, let's get our hands dirty. How do we, even practice this thing called agriculture? How can we, help ourselves be able to, mitigate our losses, and more like learn from other people's mistakes, standing on, the shoulders of people who have made that mistake to say, okay, this person has made this mistake, this is what not to do and this is what to do, right? So thank you so much for highlighting that. I think that the points that the both of you have made, very succinct. Okay, Dara is back. Would you
Yeah.
like to add? Yes, thank you.
Thank you. I was commending Imal and Akinremi for the wonderful thoughts they shared. But just in addition to all they've shared,
Okay.
I think it's good that young people can match their career or match what they've studied to agriculture, something in
Yeah.
agriculture. Most
Mm-hmm.
of the time, what is shared about agriculture is always the farm activities. When you think about
Mm-hmm.
agriculture, you're thinking production, you're a lawyer, you're wondering how do you find relevance in the agricultural sector. But we need to change the narrative. And just like Akinremi and Imal mentioned, we need to change the perception of what people understand as agriculture or agribusiness. It's beyond
Yeah.
just farm activities. If you're a techie, if you're a lawyer, if you're an accountant, you have a role to play in the agribusiness value chain. And it's something to learn. If the government can mandate, and some state government and even the federal government can mandate that all civil servants can do agriculture as the side business. It just shows
Mm-hmm.
that there's actually no excuse to say you don't want to do agriculture. And the more we can contribute to the food that we eat, the more we save everyone from food insecurity. So I think it's young people just being able to connect their knowledge, their experience to something in agriculture. You could be in logistics, you can be the accountant for agribusiness, you can be the lawyer for agribusiness, you can be the product development expert on tech related products, you can be the app developer for agribusiness. But you as a youth, you shouldn't just say because I cannot farm or I don't want to farm, you would not do agribusiness. There's just lots of opportunities in the space. And that's what we need to highlight when we're communicating in the programs such as this, in events. Let us remove the picture of that old man or old woman with a hoe. Can we have a young person with a drone on a farm? That's the kind of message young people need to see, especially young people of this generation. That's what I'm going to add. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Tara. I'm still going to get to your point. I think you mentioned two certain things for me, which was the fact that, from whichever field you find yourself, you can actually participate in agriculture. You do not have to leave it all, right, and come to the farm, right? You could do it from, from wherever point you are. And I think another thing you mentioned was, in terms of how one can participate, right? We talked about even connecting your career, but there's also the aspect of you don't have to even be an accountant in agribusiness. You can have like you said, a side business, that is connected to agriculture, and just help us fight against this food insecurity that we're having. Well, before I go on to that, I would just want to cover a question before I go on to because I have a question here talking about what are the various ways we can participate. So I'm a communications expert. How can I participate in agriculture? I mean, I do not want to resign my job, but I definitely want to, participate in agriculture. And so, the question is how. But before we get into that, right, for me, it will be more like making a case. And I'd like each and every one of you to make a case, for why young people need to participate. I think there are touched on it to talk about the fact that if for nothing, the fact that we need to help ourselves. And I think Akinremi talked about it as well, where he said the farm has a lot of older people now, and these people are going to, go old and move on. And then what's happening if a lot of young people are shying away from agriculture? What happens to our future? What happens to, the food that we eat, in the future? And so for me, it's just the next question will be around with I don't even think it's a question. I think it's just more like making a case to say why should a young person who is tuning into this or who's going to watch this afterwards, why should they be interested in participating in agriculture regardless of your field? Dara, I'll start with you.
Okay, thank you. I like to connect the dots, right, when explaining. So let's take Dangote, for example, and maybe Dangote rice mill or Bua rice mill. You realize that, well, he's probably everybody's young role model. Every young person wants to be like Dangote or
Dangote.
admire
Yeah.
Dangote.
Yeah.
And you look at the rice mill and see the impact the rice mill is making down the the grassroots. That's just too much impact. So it still goes back to maybe a young person having a restaurant that is cooking rice, right, and providing food for the community. We tend to forget that those little efforts along the value chain trickles down and impacts to the smallholder farmer. So can we also like look at that segment that we don't always look at? Look at the manufacturing segment, look at even the table, look at the restaurants, look at the hotels. you see the activities of those business enterprises, you would see that it trickles down. So because it trickles down, that's an encouragement for you to say, if for anything I start as business in the agricultural value chain, I'm making an impact. I'm creating more access to market for the farmers. I'm creating more access to finance. I'm strengthening the value chain, and I'm ensuring that we are able to be self-sustaining in agriculture in Nigeria. So while there are new technologies that youths can also be a part of, let's look at people we admire. Let's see what they are doing, and also let's follow suit. I'm not saying we can start a rice mill today as young people because it's capital intensive, but you could even start by you could sign a partnership deal with a rice mill. You can rebrand. Like, there are just so many business models to explore around the agricultural value chain. And if we can harness those opportunities, we realize that we are making an impact, we're making money, and we're all happy. And everyone is happy along the line. Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Tara. All right, Mr. Imal.
Okay, so when I have to speak with young guys and ladies who ask me these questions, I tell them that if you look at a university, the number of university graduates that are coming out and don't have jobs, it's like maybe if you have 100 students coming out of a university, different courses, so at the end of the day, maybe like 80 to 90% are still looking for jobs. I don't want to sound as if I'm exaggerating. The ones that got the jobs are underpaid, or they are being pushed to their limits because the companies or institutions are also looking to maximize. So I
Yeah.
keep telling people that one thing I have enjoyed from the time I was one thing I have wanted from the time I was a kid was to be in control of my time, my resources, and what I want to do. And for me, agriculture was one of those um, channels where I could actually be in control. I mean, if I had my own business, or if I was part of the value chain approaches like the other two speakers have so eloquently said, then I would be in a better position to determine what I want to do in life and to be able to retire early, so to say. So, what I had to do was I had to look at the value chain from a demand perspective, not from the supply end, but from the demand end.
Okay.
What do I mean? It's easy for us to talk about the why and the what, but I just want to share this bit about the how, so that somebody can take something home, especially if you're a young person. Um, if, for example, I think classic cases, if you want to sell, let's say you want to have a poultry because you heard that everybody is doing well in poultry. Just let's assume that the price of chicken is going up, the price of eggs are going up. It means that there's a demand. But what I
Yeah.
always tell people is that look at it from a demand perspective. You don't even need to start a farm. Go and look for who is selling, who has a farm where they have eggs. Carry the eggs and go and look for the markets. Now, because when you start looking for the market, you will start seeing all the challenges of the egg, the chicken, plus the market, plus the people and everybody. And when you do that, what happens is that you learn on the field how that particular sector actually operates. Now, by the time you start having by the time you have a bit more money, or somebody wants to put some money down, you'll be in a better position to be able to start a small poultry because you know about it, and you probably have made some money selling eggs. So I encourage, because if you look at it from like I think it was Julian that said it, don't just look at it as a farmer in a farm producing crops. Look at, and I mean, Dara said the same thing. There's so many things that we can do. So look at all the points where you can come in. If it's a producer, you can come in as input supplier. I mean, so many points. I don't want to get into that because I think that touches on your next question. But
Yeah.
it is possible for them to make money without having even going to a farm at all. And if they have a steady source of income, I think it will be more encouraging because I think the young guys are looking to make money quickly.
Yeah.
So encourage them to make the money quickly, and so I have a very strong push to get people to start looking at it from a marketing business development perspective, so that by the time you reverse engineer to go and start your farm, then you have a better understanding of the value
Yeah.
chain. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, Mr. Akinremi, can you hear us? Okay, great.
Okay, I think a lot has been said already, and
Okay.
yeah, and if I would add to what has been said already, I would say that um, each time you see agriculture as a young person, and then you look at the challenges, it's just like any other sector. You
Mm-hmm.
know, each sector have their own peculiarities and their challenges. You know, but each time you look at agriculture and you are looking at the challenges, I think there is one thing that should motivate you. You know, each time somebody walks up to me and tells me that I have money, which business can I start? You know, what I'll tell them is that you should start a business that you know that uh, people will pay for whatever it is you are doing every day. You know,
Mm,
something that you know that you are doing, and then you know that there's a daily market for that thing. It's not something that people will come and buy today, and if in 3 months' time, in 3 years' time, in 10 years' time, they are not coming back. You know, if you buy a very good TV and you are not this kind of person that is a movie freak, you know, sometimes you don't put on your TV maybe throughout the week. You don't even have time to watch your TV. You're not at
yeah.
home. You know, so some people may not change their TVs in 2, 3, 5, 10 years, you know, but everybody has to eat every day, you know.
Yes.
And if you are actually working in the food sector, it means that every day, you know, there's probability that somebody would ask you to sell something to them. And I think that's one of the greatest motivation. The fact that whatever it is you are doing, people are will now, it doesn't really matter whether people are it's not a matter of will now. It's they don't have a choice. People have to eat every day, except for people that are fasting. I don't think people have if you have a budget, a monthly budget, you know, a portion of that budget goes to food, whether you like food or not. It doesn't matter now, you know. So I
Yes.
think that's one of the greatest motivation. And then just like Mr. Imal just said, um, there's this understanding that you have to have a farm in order for you to farm, but it doesn't really have to be that way. You know, there are a lot of opportunities along this value chain that we still don't have experts. We still have maybe a few people doing some of these things. I think Dara mentioned having a youth standing beside a drone, and you can imagine providing drone services for farm. Drones can actually do a lot, and not every smallholder farmer can actually afford a drone. And just imagine the fact that most of our farm roads are not good, and most of the vehicles that bring out food, agric materials from the farms, they are also not good. If you have
Yeah.
just two very very good bosses, and you decide to focus on just Ogun State alone, I can tell you that within 6 months to 1 year, you'll be in problem, because you will not be able to service all the farmers that are actually calling you to come and help them move their goods out.
All their
So if you
products.
begin to look at agriculture from all these other angles,
Expectations.
now what I do personally is that when you tell me that these are the challenges, now I don't want to look at that idea any longer. I want to look at the challenges. So if it is just one of the challenges, you can pick and start thinking about it every day until you can, and thank God for internet. If there's a challenge in along the value chain in agriculture in Nigeria, somebody is already providing that solution somewhere in Sri Lanka or in
Yeah.
Brazil somewhere. All you just need
Like,
to do is do your research, try to tweak whatever it is they are doing here and there, and then you're making your money too. So it's just that way for me. Once we can look at it from that angle, then I think everybody will be fine, and agri will not be as scary as it.
as it looks. Thank you very much. I think you had begun to answer even the last question I was going to talk about, which was in
Thank you.
terms of participation, right? And I like how you have presented to say, see, there are a lot of opportunities, and you just need to be able to tap into the right ones and see that there's actually money. Tying to your point where you said people who don't come into agriculture because there's no money, right? So one major reason for you, as much as it might look as if agriculture doesn't have money, one major reason for you to come into agriculture is because there's actually money here, right? And it's a service that or product, right? A product or service really that people will need every day. It's literally our survival. People say, even if when you mentioned fasting, right? I don't know if you've tried fasting, but really, some days you can go, up to 3 p.m. You're not eating, but the day you say you want to fast, then your body begins to say, what's happening? And so, really, and then you're wondering, what's happening? Like, I could go other days without eating up to 4 p.m., 3 p.m., and then the day I say I want to fast, my body is literally afraid that they're not going to get food. So even beyond daily demand, your body already is attached to food to say, if I do not get food, literally it's like I will die, even though they will not die, right? So I really love that point you made about finding something that will give you money every day, and agriculture is that. All right. So as we wrap up, right, I think I would then just focus on, because you have spoken around, what you could do. I will focus on maybe what Dara and Mr. Imal has to say, around youth participation, in terms of what are the actual ways that you can participate, what are the actual ways that you can, put in your skills. Do you need to resign your job to go and be a farmer? How can, you know, someone like me in my role, what are the things I can do to be able to participate in agriculture? I know there was a time where investing in agriculture was a lot, like it was everywhere, and then people then said, oh no, it is a very risky business. If I put my money there, I will lose it, right? So what are the other ways? How else can somebody who says, okay, you know what, you guys have convinced me, but what do I do? What next? What's the next step? All right, Dara.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, and it's a lot because you talked about investment and you talked about youth participation. I would like to speak beyond entrepreneurship for the two, and I would say identify businesses that have good traction, that offer investment opportunities. There's only one I know and I talk about, which is a commodities trading platform called ComX. So if it's investment, I'll say that's an avenue you can look into and you can read about the exchange and find out what they're doing. But also in terms of building career, because it's always everyone may just understand this as, oh, maybe I should go start a business in agriculture. Well, how do you build a career in an agribusiness industry or with an agribusiness or even in the agriculture space? That's something to also look at. And as a development professional, I could share, like, there are always job opportunities for agricultural related interventions, both from the private sector, both from the development organizations, both from educational institutions. You just need to plug yourself and build the right skills. So if you don't have research skills and you have done 4 years in the university, how can you play as maybe a monitoring and evaluation expert for a development project? If you also have gone through the four walls of the university and you cannot put together a proposal which fits into business development activities, then that's a challenge. So I would say in building a career or even building a business in agriculture, I would say look inward, develop the skills that you need to succeed, develop the skills that you need to excel, because there are jobs and there are jobs looking for people who can handle it. So as a communications expert, you can be a communications expert for a manufacturing firm, or you can be a communications expert for even a donor funded project that needs to communicate impact stories on agriculture. You can also be, maybe you're an electrical engineer, for example, and maybe with specialization in renewable energy. You can look at setting up mini grids that cater to agricultural clusters. By doing that, you do all the calculations, you ensure the right equipment are bought. That is you exercising your expertise in the agriculture space. So I like to emphasize on capacity building even before you jump on just starting a business or going to the farm to farm. You need to research, speak to experienced people like Imal and Julian, speak to experts in agriculture, visit farms, see the way new technologies are being used, use the right seeds, the right inputs, do it differently. So I would actually say invest in knowledge, because there are lots of opportunities, there are lots of jobs for agricultural experts, but young people are not able to take them because they don't have their capacity built. So I would say please focus on capacity building, seek mentorship, expose yourself, and find an opportunity that you can start and grow your career into. So that's what I'll say to young people on this platform.
Thank you very much, Dara, for that. All right, Imal.
Yeah, I think most of what we need to cover has been covered by Dara and Julian too. Um, I was just trying to give an example. If you look at the number of professionals that are involved with our own demonstration farm, I mean, we have lawyers, we have accountants. So, I mean, I'm looking at different professions now. You could have a background in any of this. We have lawyers, we have accountants, we have engineers, we have scientists, we have because we have an agro-tourism component. It's interesting. We have photographers, we have media people, we have theater trained practitioners, we have coders because there's a coding club. I mean, this is all related to an agro project. Um, we have uh, we have web designers, digital marketers. The list can go on and on. All these connected to a particular agro venture.
Yeah.
So that is to let you know that you always have something, like Julian was saying, that you can always find something that will connect with uh, what the value chain needs. Then another thing I want to say is what Dara emphasized on uh, is about capacity building. I think even from our work in LBS, we found out that knowledge is critical. Um, And what we do in our own park is we try to encourage people to break down big things into small bits for them to do. For example, if you come and you want to do you want to take on a particular value chain in the agro sector, we encourage you to start small. Um, Start something small. Make your mistakes small, so your cost will not be the cost of making mistakes will not be so
I,
amplified, and you will not feel so, because one of the problems we have, even when we handle people, top executives, retiring civil servants coming for training, is that, yeah, now you're retiring, you have some millions in your bank account. I've had to physically discourage people from pumping millions. They have never had any experience in agriculture. Agriculture can be such a wicked, I'm saying this deliberately, a wicked experience, and it can be such a sweet experience. It can be either. So you just need to be informed, and you need to be guided properly. So the last thing I would say is I would like to emphasize the point of mentorship. It is easy to give people knowledge because that's what we do in our own particular facility. But there's a big. It's just like even in the universities you have entrepreneurship classes, training. But how many people end up starting businesses or managing the businesses successfully? It's not enough to teach them the rudiments, the basics. It's important to hold their hands and guide them. So one of the things I encourage people to do is to create communities, and that's one thing we try to do in the agro park. We have maybe about 500 people, and then I actually before we created that community park, I mean I had built some communities before that. So when people are in a community and you see others doing things, and you are encouraged to start doing what you want to do, and then even if you're going to make a mistake, let's say you're not sure what you want, you can ask a huge population of people, please, what do you think? I don't know about this. You'd be amazed at the number of people that can advise you. So I think it's important for us to create those support structures at this stage of development of the agro, the agro, because we're actually basically shifting from agriculture to agribusiness. We are going through that transition as a nation, as a value chain, because everybody is looking at the agriculture. So when you say agriculture, all you think about is plants and crops. But when you talk about agribusiness, the perspective changes, and that's what our other speakers have also spoken. That this thing is not even a value chain; it's a value web. There's a whole web of opportunities, not just a chain. And if you understand, so I think, like Dara said, the more you study, and I think Modipe said the same thing, the more you apply yourself, the more you see these opportunities. And when you're able to see these opportunities, you can now, if you're part of a community, because it's easier for you to start asking questions. Okay, I want to be able to supply seeds. Okay, what does it take? How does the market react to this? Then people advise you go and find out who is selling seeds. What kind of seeds do they sell? What are the challenges they face? How much does it take them to start their business? So it's always good to do that. It's always easier to do that if you have a community. So I just want to end with that, saying that mentorship, community where you can constantly have conversations going on these things will help us to transit faster and with less costs and better success. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for all the nuggets. Julian, before we wrap up, is there anything you'd like to add?
Okay, I think they've said all they've said. They've touched almost all. They've touched all the points. The only thing I would add to that is that if you're willing to put your money into agriculture for whatever reason, you should first of all you should go and look at the market. Look at what people will be willing to pay you money for. So if you are going to put your money into any part, if you're going to plug in into any part of the value chain or the value web, you should be putting your money into something that you know that other people will be willing to pay for. So if you know that there's a market for this, then you put your money into it. So you need to do that research, and that is where the place of mentoring comes in. So that you don't just rush into something, pour your money into it, and then you don't understand how the market for that commodity or for that agric material is structured. A lot of people have issues. Last year, around June, July, a ton of cassava was going for between 60 to 75,000. The ton of cassava is currently between 8 to 12,000 now.
Wow.
And so a lot of people planted cassava last year, and they're having a lot of challenges now. Because they don't actually understand the system, and that's where the place of mentoring comes in. So one, you look for the market, and then you also ensure that you have people that can hold your hands and tell you this is the way to go. The fact that yam is 200,000 today does not mean it will be 200,000 when the one you planted this year is going to germinate. So you need to understand that metrics, and once you know that, I think you do fine. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. I think that you guys have, really expanded the topic. Myself, I'm already thinking about like maybe I'll make Dara my mentor. I know how to get into this, and then just get into the web, like Mr. Imal had said. Um, I think that we have used up our time, and so I would like to wrap up and just round up and say thank you so much again for giving us an hour of your time to sort of create a teaser. And for everyone who's watching, I hope that we've created enough teaser to know that you do not want to miss the masterclass starting tomorrow. It runs from tomorrow, the 27th of September, to Thursday, the 29th of September. We're going to be handling, focusing on eight value chains within the agri sector. So, if you've heard some things around, oh, how can I get, I'm a tech person, how can I get into agriculture, financing agriculture, how do I, if I love, fit farm and healthy things, how do I, plug in? Really, it's going to cover the whole spectrum, and it's something that you do not want to miss. So, like I said earlier, if you're ready to register, please register at www.businessagriculture agric.org/register and register to join. You'll be streamed on YouTube, just like we're doing right now, and it's 100% free and virtual. So I mean, you could be at work and just plug in one ear and be listening to the great things that will be said tomorrow. Interestingly, I think everybody who is here on today has a session tomorrow, if I'm right. I think everybody here has a session tomorrow. So I mean, you're still going to be seeing these beautiful faces again tomorrow, along with other panelists, amazing panelists, and they'll be dissecting, conversations. I think tomorrow we're having a plenary session. We're having the practice of nutrition and lifestyle. I think Dara is on that panel, and we're having the practice of crop production and biofortification. And Mr. Julian, who is an expert, is also on that panel. So I look forward to being there, and I look forward to seeing all of you there. I look forward to hearing the amazing things that you all are going to say, because you've dished a lot of wisdom already to us and to me. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I'm looking forward to the great things that that's going to be said tomorrow. So once again, thank you everyone who's joined us on YouTube, and thank you so much to our panelists, for coming on board and giving us 1 hour of your precious time. All right, we'll see you tomorrow, and do have a good night. Thank you very much. Bye.
The Business of Agriculture Masterclass is back, and this time it's all about you. We understand how talk can look easy but become daunting with practice, and that is exactly our focus for this year. Agric in practice. 3 days, 9 sessions, 20 plus speakers, 8 value chains. Join Agric experts from September 27th to 29th, 2022, as they discuss the best practices for maximum results in your agric venture, answer critical questions about the specific challenges you face, and teach you how to tackle those challenges to achieve more profit for your business. What's more amazing? The masterclass is free and virtual, so you can join from wherever you are. All sessions will be streamed live on Facebook and YouTube. Visit www.businessofagriculture.org to register for the Business of Agriculture Masterclass today. This is brought to you by the Private Sector Advisory Group of the UN SDG.